All right. It is Friday.
And we're fired up.
We are. What's up,
We
brother?
are. I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. You got a
Yeah.
little sawdust in the voice there.
I do a little bit of
Just come from the
late
pep rally?
night flights and yelling and screaming, and we kind of been all over this week.
so where did you just come from?
We were in North Carolina. Hey, I don't know why I say we. Like it's me and myself, my four personalities.
the royal we.
Here's the thing: if you like my personality, that's great because there's four more to meet. So you know what I mean.
The royal we.
There you go. Yeah, so we're in North Carolina, had a really cool high-end mastermind, and then came back to Dallas and did 3 days with Sphere Rocket. So they're an amazing virtual assistant company. So literally 3 days of like, how do you leverage yourself? What are the different roles? How do you raise up a great virtual assistant? And I'll tell you what, that company is changing lives because people are able to go out and get 5 virtual assistants, 6 virtual assistants for the price of one person here locally. And I'm not saying get rid of local people, but I'm saying if you guys, you're able to add amazing support that you would not have been able to do on your own. So it takes so much off the plate.
I actually saw those guys. Their dog and pony or their deal with I think it was Orlando.
Yeah, maybe.
For EXP shareholders.
Okay,
or something
yeah.
like that.
Yep.
And it was like, whoa. Okay, so they had it dialed in.
Yeah,
and
it's amazing.
I tried the virtual assistant thing but it was like I didn't have something consistent.
Yeah.
And that was the kicker.
Well, and I'll give you the real kicker. If you're anything like me, we are not the most systematic leaders that exist. For instance, I remember telling my assistant one time, I sent her an email, and she goes, would you just read this back to me? It's like, will you send the thing to the people? And like, I am not the greatest when it comes to that. So with my virtual assistants, I got to get them dialed in, but also need to have kind of a person that's running, the virtual assistants. And that helps a lot. So, and it just depends.
So you need a virtual assistant for the virtual assistant?
Pretty much, yeah. And you know what? You got to get the right people. I mean, there's two kinds of people. There's people that, are waiting to take stuff on, and they'll kind of do what you tell them to do. And then there's other people that are like consistently going, hey, I saw this. Can I help you with that? Hey, I noticed this. Is that something I can take off your plate?
I find myself dealing with the former.
Yes.
Where it's like, okay, are we going to play like 20 questions on what are you able to do? Or is it my turn to guess?
Right. It's like, I'm paying you so I don't have to do your job. I don't want to do your job for you.
And I think a lot of times too is it, I don't know, they're afraid to get in trouble. They're afraid to like make the wrong call or.
I mean, I think most people just weren't taught to think 2 steps ahead. You know what I mean? I mean, I was fortunate to be raised by, my dad was, grew up on a farm, and he was just always taught you're thinking 2 steps ahead, right? If we're fixing the tractor, you're thinking about the tool I need 3 steps down the line, and I think that was kind of ingrained to us, think ahead and how can it be proactive and everything else. And just a lot of people are just reactive and they're just sitting there kind of going like, I'll do what you tell me to do, but like, I'm not really going to.
That's the thing, like, but not one item further. Yeah. And I'm like, man, okay, is that me? Am I the one that's Jack? It's like the Reddit subreddit.
Yes,
like, am I?
Yes, and
yes, and
yeah.
Speaking of that, so we had this dude.
I'm not saying you're not. Just to be clear,
that is okay. So Les McGehee was in the other day.
Is this on the asshole train, or are we on a different Reddit now?
No.
I just want to make sure.
So he had his. So he had his shirt that said yes and.
Oh, nice.
It. Yeah. And so like now I'm gonna think that. Am I the asshole? Yes. And
I love Les.
Oh, dude,
what a good dude.
It was. So we were over in Tarrant County.
Yeah.
So it was like this whirlwind week of just highs, lows. It was like Tuesday morning. I wake up. And there's like $5,000 worth of fraud getting charged on stuff.
Geez.
Dude, $3,800 to Cartier.
Yeah.
And it went through PayPal.
Oh, geez.
And there was like a pending transaction on PayPal on this rando PayPal that I didn't even realize was still alive.
That imaginary girlfriend has come to life once again.
Right. My girl that lives in Canada.
Yeah, exactly. Mine's in Belize. I don't even know where that is.
So we don't see each other very often. But I end up, and I get on the chat with Cartier, and I'm like, really? Y'all do PayPal? I'm like, I don't know. Like, that doesn't really seem on brand for you guys.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, do we take PayPal?
Yeah.
Like, that seems kind of low end. But all right, whatever. But they were cool. They got it sorted out. And then Adorama Camera, this other deal in New York, another $1,500 got hit on. So anyhow, I say all that to say, like, it was like the shittiest morning of 2024. And Then we go to the 40 under 40 at Metrotex, and it turns out to be this killer thing. And Les shows up, and then I saw the photo of you over at Studio USA West last week.
The photo of me. That's always a scary
Yeah.
situation.
Hey, what's
Yeah.
this you're
Yeah.
what's this you're holding on to?
By the way, I got an email like a couple days ago that was like, "Hey, we have embarrassing stuff about you, and we're gonna send that if you don't send us a bunch of money." And I was like, "There's a good chance they might." You know what I mean? So if you
Yeah.
get an email in the next couple days, let me know.
Oh.
But anytime someone's like, "Oh, I saw a photo of you," it's like, all right.
Yeah.
What'd you see?
Well, and there is the part of me now that it's like, thank God, my 20s and 30s, like the ubiquity of 4K
Yes.
footage and recording capabilities everywhere was not a thing, or else. Oh no! By now I'd already been, flogged in the public circle, public square, and it'd be over.
Yeah.
I would be probably coming back from my third or fourth cancellation at this time.
Yeah, I know. I love when people are like, "Look what this man said 20 years ago," and I'm like, "Oh, yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, that's terrible."
Yeah, like, oh my God.
None of us did that exact thing
Yes.
20 years ago.
So should we do some questions?
We should. Let's hit it.
All right, from the Hero Nation.
First off, can I give
yeah.
an update on the market? So
Yeah.
here's what's cool for the real estate world out there, which is a lot of our people. It was at several masterminds. We're talking about market and everything else. Oh my gosh!
Should we take the call?
Yes, you should put it on speaker.
Good morning, sir.
Hey, Rick. How you doing, buddy?
I'm actually live with Wayne, and your name just came up like 30 seconds ago, and I thought you heard that.
We were
call.
just talking about you.
Well, do me a favor and tell Wayne that now that I know that y'all are in there, Wayne, do your good shit.
Oh, is he bringing like the small room material?
Yeah,
Like,
let
Well,
me.
he's just got so much.
Oh.
You got to remind him once in a while. Wayne, we want the one on the top.
I
too,
gotta
buddy.
whip out my Les McGee notes. That's the good stuff.
Give Wayne a big hug for me. I love you, boys. I do have one good question for you, real quick. N2 did the national podcast on me and released it, Rick.
Yes.
And we don't know where they release it, so we're not sharing it or doing anything with it because we don't know where they release those things.
I could find that out.
If you could send us a little note about that or something, I'll get on it, and you sure would improve our day.
Absolutely, you got it, man.
Thanks,
well,
Rick.
We just got our
Bye,
first
Wayne.
caller.
Oh, well, here's the thing. Wayne, you're one of the only people I've met who is as big of a nerd on me as what are the trigger numbers for someone to go from a solopreneur to a two-person team and the dangers of resting at a three-person team
Yep.
before you get to a four-person team. And there's very few people that know how that math adds up. Wayne, would you do me a favor and walk people through that real briskly today?
Hey, sounds good to me.
Thank you. I love you, boys. See you
Thank
later.
you, brother.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that was awesome.
Man, that was awesome. That
okay,
guy's amazing.
so like, I don't understand hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
Audio hieroglyphics,
Yes,
which
yes,
you
yeah.
just rolled out.
Yeah, it's like when you walk through the X to the Y to the W. Here's the reality. Most people, and I was talking to one of the top agents in the country the other day, and I'll say it this way: one of the top agents as far as net, not one of the top agents as far as gross, because there's a lot of agents that look the part and they ain't making nothing. Okay, right, and for me, it's about quality of life. So here's the reality: most agents they build these teams with these brokerages, and I'll tell you what, because I've seen the math on all of them in a sense, because I've done so much of this. Most of them are not making any money. If you take out their personal sales, their organization, their team is by the time what they pay, they're making almost nothing when it comes to this. Because and they started these things as people like, oh, you should build a brokerage, oh, you should start a team, but they don't do the math and they don't know how to scale effectively and who should be doing what. So they end up in these upside down situations where they're basically putting out all this money. They get trapped in this hamster wheel and it's devastating. So that's one of the reasons why, we talk about virtual assistants. Now you've got to do more for your clients than we had to in the past. Right. And yet agents at the same time are feeling the pressure of the economy. They're feeling the pressure of all the other stuff that's coming in. So they've got to figure out how do we do more in essence, right, with less time and less money. And that's where like virtual assistants and things like that come into play. But I'll tell you what, that one of the most devastating things you can do is start a business, start a brokerage, start a team, and not really do the math.
Can confirm.
Yes.
I mean, there are still things where I look at like what in the world is going on as far as okay, money in, money, and it's like this craziness of well, okay, it just everything just seems to be
Yep.
barely covered.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's the paranoia of, okay, are we charging too much? Are we charging, you know, and
Yeah.
then it's just this weird thing to get a handle on where everything's moving so fast.
And it's a consistent process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so like, are you saying like folks actually figure that out before they?
Dude, and here's what's amazing. I'll sit down with somebody, they'll call me, they go, things aren't really working out. And I'll start going, well, is this, and this going on? And they're like, holy snap, how like, did you break into my account? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, no, I've just done this so many times. I know that based on 5 or 6 things, this is exactly what's happening. So that's where we go back to like stop. One of the dumbest ways to do things is to not follow a roadmap. Right, like I'm okay with you being like creative and things like that, but like we've got to have some sort of map we're following. You know, what is it? Pioneers get killed and settlers, you know, usually survive. Right, but the first
like
ones
that.
out there are like you're going to get hit the back of the head with something. So like, stop doing it on your own. Stop doing it without doing the math. And that's, you know, people go, I can learn everything I need on the internet without a coach. I'm like, you can. It's just going to take you way too long.
Yeah. Well, and there's the thing where like I didn't have a map.
Yeah.
For what I was
Yeah.
doing, and so you kind of copy. It's a weird thing where you copy what you think
Yeah.
other people are doing.
Yes.
And that might not necessarily be true. And then you come away. So, and then in the real estate world, one of the things like you talk about the folks that are playing the role.
Yeah.
Man, I see a ton of people, and then I'll go and look up numbers, and it's like, how are you even? There's a part of me where like, how are you even
Yeah.
affording to go make fake stuff
Yeah.
for Instagram? You know, it's like, because there was one where, you know, looking like a baller or whatever, and then I go and I look up and there's like one lease listing for
Right.
the year, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, dude, wow, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure what drives somebody to. I mean, because like, truth be told, if I was in that position, I don't know if I'd love the game that much
No.
to be doing that.
No.
But the idea of doing the math is something that, man, that's anxiety generating, dude.
Yeah.
And like, even with my CPA, I just had the best. So to bring it back to that exact thing, I just had the best CPA call yet the other day, where we actually we had an hour blocked out. We
Yep.
ended at like 35 minutes, and it was
Wow.
like, whoa, okay. And I'm like, wow, we're doing good.
She's like, you did your stuff.
Cruz just gave
There
me
you
like
go.
the woo.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Because, dude, I was just used to, okay, this is my Wednesday morning ass whipping where I'm just going to get in there and just take some shots.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's like, we got 2023 done. And I'm like, you do? Like, wow, okay.
You're like, that's like 5 years
Yeah.
sooner than I
Yeah.
usually like
and,
to do it.
and it's like, wow, okay, that's
Yep.
pretty awesome.
Yep.
And there is something to be said for leaning into whatever it is that's freaking you out.
Dude, 100, and we talk about it all the time, like the suffer once instead of suffer twice. And so often we suffer twice. So let me give you a couple notes about the market.
Oh, yes.
So here's the first thing. Now is I think that based on everything, I think we will see. I've been saying forever, I don't think interest rates should come down. Every time people think they're going to drop, I've been saying they're not. I do think that they will come down a little bit towards the end of this year, which would be great enough to, I think, create some movement. So here's what I think people should be doing right now. I think the smart people are going to buy, and this is based on all the numbers. Bill Middleton, shout out to Bill Middleton, by the way, did an amazing job walking through all this math the other day. I think that the smart people are going to buy in the next 2 or 3 months. I think that's going to be the next 2, 3, 4 months. It's going to be the best buying window. Your interest rate may be a little higher, but you're going to get a great house and you know at a great price, and then maybe you can refinance in February, March, whatever. But I would buy in the next 2 or 3 months. And here's the big thing that most people aren't realizing, and I've been shouting this from the rooftops: stop selling your house. Meaning people go, well, if I sell, I'm like, stop selling it. The dumbest thing you can do is sell an appreciating asset. Meaning, right, what if you could get a $500,000 asset that was generating a 6% interest every year, right? Yada, 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 right? While you get to write off all these other things, right? Why wouldn't you, and by the way, it's no cash down because you already own the thing in a sense, right? Like, people, stop selling your house, rent your home, go buy the next one. And most people don't realize that they can, all you got to do to be able to approve the payments. There's so many different ways to do that these days. So I think for most people, it's like, keep the house, right? We live in an economy where people are paying $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month for rent and not batting an eye. And it's become so much more normal than it was 5, 10 years ago.
The rental thing is brutal.
It's amazing. So stop selling the house. And the third thing I would say, and you're back to math, you got to get really good at math with your clients. You got to help them realize, hey, between your cash on cash return, between appreciation, between write-offs and everything else, you can make 12 to 15% a year on owning your home as a rental. It's amazing, right? The third thing I would say is you better start lead generating like crazy right now and build an amazing pipeline for January, February, March. Right, the people that won this year were the people that listened to me last year in November,
Yes.
October, September last year, and started lead generating hard. That paid off big time in March, April, whatever is this year. So those are the big things right now.
How do you break that conditioning? Because obviously, we're both in the same universe, and it seems like everybody checks out at Halloween.
God, it's brutal. So here's what breaks my heart: they check out, but they still keep going to work. Right? Are you with me? Right?
Yes.
It's like,
Oh my
I gotta
God.
go to work, and like, no, you don't actually,
Yeah.
because you're not doing anything there. So it's like what I tell people. We start doing this, like especially like you said, November, December. What I tell people to do is I have them get out their calendar and I go, let's mark the days. You want to take a bunch of days off? That's awesome, right? But let's mark the days you're going to work. Let's mark the days you're going to take off. And the days you're going to work, let's actually work. The days you're going to take off, let's actually take off, instead of being at 20% capacity for 2 months. Like, let's nail these days and then take these ones off. But man alive, it is so easy to go, I didn't do crap for 60 days.
Right.
And then you're 120 days behind.
Yes, and so like last fall, there's the dip, and then I was putting this particular location together, so it was like I was just busy all the time.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm busy treading water.
Yeah.
And it's like, boy, I hope this works. I hope it
Yeah.
turns out good. And then now I'm actually looking forward to this year. Where
I
okay,
agree.
So we take the knee, so to speak, as far as the real estate market in the fall.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to move, school's back, blah, 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 whatever. But this now becomes the hub of the folks that want to essentially chop wood, carry water, and stack for the next year to come. Because like my theory now, and you can give me your opinion on this, is to sort of strategize throughout the fall and create the content that is locked and loaded.
Yes.
So for example, you were over at the Studio West, as it were.
Which is nice.
And oh my God, it's like super grateful. Brooke, Lance, everybody, Todd. Oh, I love that. And so we're stacking the Real Producer Show.
Yeah.
But the idea is, rather than, because not everybody is wired to be goofy enough and crazy enough to just go, let's go live and make it up as we go. But for me, that's part of the fun.
Yes.
But on the RP show, we're stacking those. So it's like we'll have essentially several months worth ready to go.
Absolutely.
And then to carve that up. So and then we're doing a bunch of different things to give agents the maximum, or even the adjacent businesses and all the tangential affiliates or whatever, where they have the ability to essentially have evergreen content and then keep mining. Because like even like what we're doing now, I mean, it's like, oh my God, dude, I need to hire a virtual assistant to then hire a social media person to then, because it's like,
and for $600 a month, to have
well,
somebody
the
working
thing that
40
kills
hours a
me
week would
is-
be amazing, and that's that's a median income for them, right? Like that's a great wage, and it's such matters. So here's what I would do if I was an agent right now. One of the things I would consider is I would start doing a podcast with you. I would rent the studio for an hour and a half a week, and I would get in there and I would be doing like 15-minute podcasts with like the mayor, with your vendors,
Right.
with your social media people, with other, right, with all the different people, right? And I would get a crap ton of those done. And I if I was an agent, I wouldn't be doing hour-long podcasts, right? I'd be doing like 15 minutes, wham, bam, that was awesome. We got enough content.
Well,
We
even
got
like here where we try to
yeah.
hit like 25 minutes.
Because here's the thing, and we were talking about this last week, people need to see you, and if you're watching this, write this down, they need to see you as high status. They need to see you as a thought leader, which means you got to have some opinions to get them out there. They need to see you as competent and experienced, and then they need to see you as trustworthy. They see 5 podcasts and they go, wow, this person has high status. They're sitting in a beautiful studio doing their thing, right? They're a thought leader because somebody's asking them questions, right? They're competent and they're trustworthy. It's one of the best ways to nail all 4 of those. Plus, you get to do it with your database, right? You go, who in my database owns a business that would love to be on the podcast? You talk about getting vendors that are thrilled about being in your world. I mean, I would be all over that.
I couldn't agree more. Well, and it's like, again, can confirm, because for me,
Right.
like, how awesome was that Les called in like 30 seconds after?
Yes.
But so I'm sitting there the other day, we just did an off the cuff impromptu show
Yeah.
in Colleyville because everybody was there.
Right.
And I'm sitting there going like, dude, this is badass. It's like, oh, it turns out if you really just want to be surrounded by like alphas and like build the studio.
Oh, that's 100%. Or put on masterminds. People are like, why do you put on masterminds? Like, because I get to hang out with cool people.
Dude.
My next mastermind in New York, I just got to say this.
Yes.
Next mastermind I'm doing in New York, for our broken boardroom, right? I won't tell you who it is yet because it's going to be a surprise. But the guy owns a crap ton of everything. He's flying his private plane into LaGuardia or whatever that private airport is on the little island, right? So he's flying in there, talking, and then flying back to wherever he is in Puerto Rico or whatever island he owns. Like, that's pretty cool.
Dude, that's awesome.
Like, I would pay to go to my own thing because I'm
exactly.
like, look at this. But he's coming because we're able to do. So like you said, you're able to set some lights up, start a podcast. You want to get legit fast, do that.
Yes. And it's almost like a force multiplier for networking.
Yes.
You know, so just a case in point. So some of the stuff that I planted the seeds for like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, like we're sitting there at Metrotex the other day and it's the 40 under 40.
Right.
And, you know, Lance just has the idea of like, hey, dude, what if we did like 40 under 40 commercials or whatever?
Right.
So I'm like, hell yeah, dude. Because the nice thing is when you have a studio, you can offer things that aren't easily acquired or kind of hard to come by.
Yes.
And so, but I still to this.
Well, and you're a little bit like a crack addict. You know what I mean? You're like, hey, first video's free. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, come in, lights go on, they look amazing. They're like, this is slightly better than my iPhone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it looks amazing. You can hear what they're saying.
And I don't have to hold the gimbal.
Exactly. And all of a sudden they're like, I could get used to this, right?
Yes, and so but the funny part is, so all of those years of just dog and pony show to crickets and tumbleweeds and everything. So I'm used to ambivalence, is what I was saying. Like, yeah, I'm just so.
What does ambivalence mean? Like, you got to break it down. I mean, I just, dear Lord, all the big words.
So where it was just basically like I'm apathetic. You know, like I'm used to the apathy.
You can't explain a big word with it. I'm joking.
Well, that's the other thing. It's like so my word of the day, like back when I was a cube dweller, I would have like every little word of the day automated email gimmick or whatever sent to me just to give me something to look at. And so I think it's paying off now. And all the gummies are kicking in.
There you go. Hey, I love when people are like, your book, when they tell me, they go, your book is so easy to read. I'm like, I think that's a good thing, but it also reminds me that I probably write at a 4th grade level. So that's wonderful.
And the thing is, it's like, what do they say? Most advertising is like 4th or 5th grade, at the maximum. And then it's just, you know, you cast a wide net.
Yeah.
But having folks come over the other day immediately, like I haven't had the experience of, well, it's kind of what you're saying, like where you get noticed and you get known or whatever just by putting stuff out.
Yes.
And so it's been like this content machine now for like the last, I think this makes 35 weeks in a row.
Dude, that's amazing. And then here's the cool thing. Instead of paying to get into rooms, you're invited to come into rooms, right? Like this room I spoke in last week. Yeah. I mean, dude, it would have everybody else paid a ton of money to be there. I get paid to come and do the thing, right? Because of, like you said, the 10-year overnight success. But that thing, and you've got to be putting yourself out there, right? We value high status, we value thought leadership, we value consistency. It helps us build trustworthiness, all that. And I think the cool thing about the people that get to work with you is you can also help them figure out what that content is. Not just how it'll look good, but also what that content is. And I think especially most agents, and I think a lot of other business owners, that they don't do enough content because they're like, what does that mean? Like, you keep saying I should put out content. It's this big, scary, whatever. And sometimes content is just breaking it down. Here's 3 questions to ask an agent before you hire them. Here's 4 things to watch out for on a home inspection.
Speaking of,
just break it down and make it simple.
Let's finish with a couple questions.
Okay. Ooh,
yes.
Here we go.
All
right.
Just do the thing about the whole thing about content. It's like right now, I might have to pilfer one of your virtual assistants because we have so many just from what we've done. You and I. There's a Dropbox folder with probably 150 soundbite clips in it that are just ready to
100%
ready to go.
Yep. AJ, put your seatbelt on. Here we come.
Okay. From the Hero Nation audience. What are some daily habits or routines you practice to stay motivated and ahead in your field?
Man, so here's 2 things, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but I think every day you've got to like kind of start the car again. You know what I mean? Like you got to. There's not a whole lot of carryover, right? It's like you got to take a shower every day. You know, you can't get away with too many days without doing it. I think it's a lot of motivation stuff like that. So every day for me. I write down, and I am not perfect at this. So when I say I do this every day, it's like I work to do this every day. I have alarms, I have reminders, I still miss some days.
Yeah.
But I write down 3 things I'm grateful for that day, because I think gratitude is one of the most powerful, underutilized tools. I write down my 3 musts for that day. What are the 3 most important things? If I get those 3 done, it was a hell yeah day. Then I'll watch something and listen to something motivational, right? I'll watch. I have a Motivate app and Pep Talk and a couple other things on my phone, so I'll watch a 2 or 3 minute motivational video, 2 or 3 of those. Usually on my way home from working out.
Okay, you just hit me with the crack there.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. As much as I hate hustle porn, I'm there. Right, so I'll watch 2 or 3 of those, and then I'll say my affirmations, kind of review my stuff, and then we're off to the day. Yep.
Right on. Okay. Let's see here. How do you encourage creativity and innovation in your clients' business approaches?
I do not. And here's what I mean. Most of my clients are very visionary and very creative. So probably my biggest job is like, love that. That's amazing. Let's put that let's put that over here. And when we get done this, then we can open that box.
So you're more of like a block and tackle.
It's a lot, right? Like a lot of my clients, and even their team members, it's like they got ideas all the time. Like, those are great. It's like, let's put those in the suggestion box. And like once a month, we can open that box and see if there's 1 or 2 we want to do. But like, for the most part, most of them just need to like steady it. Like, just let's get this thing all the way done. Then we can do this. Let's get this thing all the way done. Then we can do this. So, I think that the big place that we need creativity is usually in messaging. It's usually in storytelling. And I still think that's an art, like storytelling and getting better at like, hey, the pain people are having is different than it was, 6 months ago. How do I talk about that? For my clients right now, a lot of them are struggling with team members that maybe are feeling burned out or they're feeling overwhelmed. So it's like, hey, what are the activities? What's the things we need to do with them to help them get, a breath of fresh air, help them get re-engaged? And I'm giving them activities and stuff like that. But that's different than the activities that they're going to need in 2 months. It's different than the activities we're going to need in January. So like, that's where creativity comes in. But man, for the most part, it's like, you just need to hit that nail 10 more times. Like, let's not worry about all the other shiny nails.
Well, and I can see myself every once in a while where like I'll get a little bit cooked on a certain aspect of what I'm working on, and then it's like, well, this thing's far sexier right now. Where I can come out of the gate fast on something to feel, because there's some about that too. That little hit of I'm getting stuff done. And then when it's like, okay, now I'm in the repetitive phase of this thing over here, then it becomes like, ugh.
Yes.
Let me get something over here where I can do something where I get a bigger dopamine hit.
100%.
And man, that is tough. That's a tough habit to crack. And then,
but also too, like, I think it's okay to give yourself to that point. I think everyone's different. Some people need a certain amount of, we need certainty, but we also need to have some fun and some uncertainty. And for people, it's different. So like, let's figure out what's a healthy way to lean into that, right? Maybe you need an hour or 2 a day or a week or whatever to go play and do whatever, But let's get like intentional with that, so it's not just all the time. But I heard this quote yesterday. Joel shared this, and it was so amazing. By the way, congratulations! I get to coach these guys from time to time. Sphere Rocket was Inc.'s 713, I believe, 724 on the list of top 1,000 growing companies in the country.
Damn,
pretty cool to get on that top 1,000 list. I mean, that's a huge deal. And one of the things that Joel shared yesterday with us was, if you have more than 3 priorities, you really have no priorities. And I was like, what are my 2 or 3, right? Probably 1 or 2, right? But like so many people, we go, we're doing 100 different things. And I have to work with myself on that all the time.
Well, and I'm real bad about having, 5 or 6 projects going at once that all need a little bit of attention. And then you always want to like focus on the sexier one.
Yes, because we're human, which is why we need the people around us that are like, that's cute, and we do this thing.
Yes, and.
Yes. Yeah.
Right on. One last one.
One last one. I love it.
Here we go. How do you approach coaching a client who's resistant to change?
Ooh. How do I sneak up on them? Yeah, I've had a lot of people in the past be like, "Oh shoot, I see what you did there." So
Jedi mind trick.
Right, yeah. So I usually, if I come straight at somebody, usually we're resistant, right? If I just go put my hand up to yours, you immediately kind of push back. So a lot of times, if I feel there's something there, I'll ask them a roundabout questions. I'll be like, hey, you said that spending, being at home for dinner with your kids was really, really important. And yet I see us like keep not following our schedule or overcommitting ourselves and that continually being pushed, right? Like, I just want to see are you okay with that, or is that something we want to readdress? Like, if you're okay with it, and we were like, that's okay. But if you want to, but if you're not okay with it, like, help me understand what's up here. You know what I mean? So a lot of times I'll come from a place of like kind of confusion or like, hey, what this doesn't seem. I might be wrong.
Yeah, you're like,
might seem off.
I just want clarification. So you said this, but you're doing this.
Absolutely, and we call it spitting in the soup, right? And it would be like you have a team member that's always showing up late, and you go like, man, you said you wanted to be part of this team. You really wanted to grow with the team, and yet, I keep seeing you showing up late, and I know that causes frustration for everybody else, right? Because they don't know what's happening or whatever else. And I was just, I guess I just wanted to see that, like, do you really want to be part of the team, or do you have some other priorities that aren't working out for you? Like, what's causing this to be late? Because it doesn't seem like you. Right, and all of a sudden, it's like instead of me coming at them, it's like almost one of this place of confusion. They go, "Well, man, it's just I'm having such a hard time with my morning." It's like, okay, so if we get the morning figured out, then you'd be on time. Like, hell yeah! It's like, cool. Now we can work on that. So
I like that.
It's I think a lot of times it's not assuming that I know what they want, and it's just kind of asking the questions and helping them either figure out the pain that they're having. And how bad it actually is, or go back to it.
You're letting them kind of clarify and figure it out for themselves without saying like, well, hey, dude, what about this?
Yeah.
So it's that sort of like diplomatic approach.
And then sometimes, like with one of my clients who will remain unnamed, I told him he was going to give $200 to his least favorite charity if he didn't get his shit done. So there's other approaches too.
I love it.
So we have a toolbox full of how do we help inspire action.
I love it. Well, dude, how about like a parting thought for this week? What do you got going?
Parting thought. What I would think that we are just we're the product of our habits. So I would sit down and I would think about, people go, I'm just not I don't have a morning routine, or I don't have a night routine. I'm like, yeah, you do. Like, you probably do similar things everywhere. You probably do similar things every evening. So I would just challenge you to look at what are some of those things I'm doing over and over and over, and ask yourself which ones are serving me and which ones aren't serving me. And just do a little, you don't gotta change them right away. Just do a little audit. Like, what's getting me closer? If I did this 365 days, I'd be closer to who I want to be. If I did this 365 days, it would hold me back from who I really want to be. So do a little audit and just see what comes up.
I love it. Well, this is obviously to my benefit every Friday. To
Boom,
suit up
mine too.
Yeah,
mine too. I love our Fired Up Fridays.
All right, brother. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, brother.
Until next time.
Until next time.